Hello, I'm going to explain some techniques we use for predicting future trends in politics and culture using vibrational astrology. I'll explain the techniques and I'll make some forecasts for the coming year. I'm making this on January 26th, 2017, so we're almost a month into the year 2017. So, here's how I predict future trends using vibrational astrology. Idea number one, Neptune and Pluto. I know that may sound peculiar, but I use Neptune and Pluto to set the tone. They will, the way that Neptune and Pluto are related to each other creates the fundamental cultural and political changes that affect the entire world. It sets the mood. Why Neptune and Pluto? Well, one thing to keep in mind is that Pluto's orbit is not independent of Neptune's orbit. This is something a lot of astrologers are not aware of or don't think of very much, but they are in a harmonic relationship to each other, a precise harmonic relationship. It's not like Uranus and Neptune, where Neptune takes about twice as long to go, to make its revolutionary orbit around the sun. This is a very tight resonance between the orbits, where the orbits are not really independent of each other. And Neptune, in essence, is the outermost planet. Saturn is the outermost visible planet. It sets the boundary of our physical world. Neptune is the boundary of our psyche. It's our hopes, our dreams, not just psychic hopes or spiritual aspirations, but what we really wish for, what our dream is, what we really hope to be. And Pluto regulates those hopes and wishes of Neptune and shows where the compulsive hopes and wishes of Neptune are directed. So Pluto regulates the deepest hopes and wishes of Neptune. So just by looking at Neptune and Pluto, we can see what the tone is, what the trends are, where things are headed. That's idea number one. Idea number two is that we use vibrational astrology, which is built off ideas in harmonic astrology. And one of the basic ideas of vibrational astrology is that minor aspects are not minor. So we look at quintiles, septiles, noviles. These aspects that are usually not given much attention play a huge role in vibrational astrology. So it's very simple. Just see what aspect is formed between Neptune and Pluto, and that will tell you what is going on. It'll set the tone for politics, for culture, for the whole momentum of where things are headed. It's really that simple. Now, what minor aspects do we use? We only go up to about the 16th harmonic, which means fractions of a circle that go up to roughly about 16 in the denominator, because as the denominator of the fraction gets bigger, the orb gets smaller. So a trine is a 1/3 aspect. That's a 3 in the denominator. A square is 1/4. So 4 in the denominator. A quintile is 1/5, so 5 in the denominator. Excuse me. So we take aspects up to about 16 in the denominator of outer planets. You don't need to go higher because the orb is so small that the transit won't last very long. If a transit only lasts a few days, it does not have a huge impact. So it's that simple. We just look at these minor aspects between Neptune and Pluto, and it's phenomenal how clearly they describe the trends, the political changes that are going on. So how do we do this? I do two things. One is I produce a listing of Neptune and Pluto aspects to see how the overall trends are changing. Let me show you that. And then I'll show you how we use the timeline to focus in on a particular time period, such as a year. So let me show you this. I'm in the Series 2.0 software. This is Donald Trump's birth chart. So what we'll do is we'll go to forecast, and then we'll go down here to transit text listing. And then we will select transit to transit, listings, ingress, stations, etc. So we want transit to transit, not transit to natal. This means what's going on in the sky. And then what I do is I customize one of these listings. And what I've done is I've gone to the asteroids selection, because that's just a nice place to put whatever specialized things you want to have, rather than one of these basic things that we're going to use in our regular astrological work. And then I go to the exact only selection, And if you go to customize, there's a customize button. What I've done for the transiting planets is I've selected only Neptune and Pluto. And over here is a tab for aspects. And I've made all these aspects and checked them all. Conjunction, which is first harmonic, opposition, second harmonic, trine, which is third harmonic, harmonic just means the denominator, it's 1/3. The squares, which are fourth harmonic, and here we just put the harmonic number, fifth, sextiles are sixth harmonic, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I've got 12 up here, 13, 14, 15, 16. The first 16 harmonics. So you can specify an aspect or a harmonic. I select all those, and that's it. That's what we do. So I've already set that up, and then we'll run it for 5 years. Let's run it for 5 years beginning January 1st, 2015, for example. So let's see, change this to 5 years, approximate. So for the place, we're not going to select a specific place. We're not going to just for DST at a location. It doesn't matter what time zone we use. We'll just use the Greenwich Mean Time or Universal Time. Anyway, you can set the time for specific places and so on. So we're going to start January 1st, 2015, run it for 5 years. And what this will do is it will show us what aspects are formed between Neptune and Pluto over these 5 years. And notice that in 2015, Neptune and Pluto move into 13th harmonic, 2/13. And Neptune and Pluto were in 7th. This lowercase means they were within orb of the aspect, but they were not exact. So I'm covering a lot of information very quickly, and I cover this in more detail in other videos. But to give you an idea, here we see it, and what you'll see if you run this for, say, 40 or 50 years, you'll see these aspects gradually change. So Neptune and Pluto are moving from 7th harmonic into 13th harmonic, and the whole world is shifting from 7th harmonic energy to 13th harmonic energy. I've made many forecasts over the past 20 years, and they just time out perfectly. I predicted that Donald Trump would win the nomination to be the candidate for the Republican Party. I did not make a prediction as to whether he would win the election over Hillary Clinton, because I don't have Hillary's birth time, but I predicted he would do very well, and even if he lost, he would continue to have huge amounts of support. Why? When the political experts were saying he didn't have a chance? Because he brings this 13th harmonic message, and I'll talk more about this. So whether you are optimistic about Trump or pessimistic, whether you love him or hate him, we're going to talk about the fundamental themes and messages and motivations that are in the air, and why people are changing politically, changing with their attitudes and culture in the way they are. It's very, very clear in this harmonic analysis. Okay, and the other thing we do is we can look at a timeline format where we go to forecast, timeline format, and we uncheck transit to natal because I don't want that. I want just transit to transit. We'll do outer planets, and over here we select with minor aspects and midpoints. If I go to the customize button, it has outer planets selected, and I've done the same thing. I've selected all the harmonics up to 16, and I've also selected midpoint structures because we're not looking at just Neptune and Pluto. We're looking at all the planets aspecting each other. I'll run it for the year of 2017, so I'll select 1 year here. I click OK, and then it produces a graph. And this graph, I can just look at this graph and tell you what's going to happen over the coming year. For example, in May and June, July, August, September, exact and early June and late September is the Neptune 2/13 Pluto. This is probably a little bit small and difficult to read on your screen. In the actual program, it's very easy to read. But anyway, I can look at this and see what the forecast is. So back to my PowerPoint. What I'm telling you is how I predict the future, what's going to happen culturally and politically in the coming year. Neptune and Pluto set the tone. I can see what, by using a listing, how those Neptune-Pluto aspects are changing over time, and then I can look at the timeline to see all of the important harmonic relationships between outer planets. And then you can predict what will happen. I had predicted, for example, after 9/11, when the United States took military action into the Middle East, I said if we don't get out of there in 3 months, we'll be stuck there. That was in 2001. I said we'll be stuck there to 2015. We're going to be stuck there for, it'll be like another Vietnam. We've got to get in and out or we'll never get out. And that's because Neptune and Pluto were in 7th harmonic. So you can see what will happen. I said we can't win there. And now everybody's talking about how much wasted energy there was, how the mission was not clear, etc. All this is very, very, very clear using vibrational astrology. You can see what's going to work and what is not going to work. And we have some big changes coming up this year, and I will tell you what's going to happen. This is not magic, it's not psychic. All you have to do is just look at these planetary patterns and you know what's going to happen. This is the same listing here in this PowerPoint that I have here in the background, where I've circled in red what's going on and made notes. So we see in January, February, March, Uranus is 1/9 Neptune. Whenever there's 9th harmonic aspects, the Democratic Party is strong. So there's some Democratic Party resistance, comes strong against Trump in the first few months of 2017. Saturn trine Uranus brings changes and reforms in May and November. Anyway, you can look at this whole thing and you'll see exactly what kinds of changes there will be. We see a lot of optimism and exuberance, and also in the first few months of 2017. Now in May and June, a lot of scientific advancements will be coming out, advancements in solar energy, pioneering developments, a lot of excitement about new technology to solve problems because of the Jupiter 1/5 Saturn, which gives creative problem solving. And when Neptune and Pluto move into 13th harmonic, we see a lot of innovation going on. Well, I will explain in more detail how I come up with these predictions. Right now I'm just showing you the tools that are used to make the prediction. Now, let me explain a little bit more how we make these predictions. I've explained that we look at the minor aspects between Neptune and Pluto. Well, let's go back in time and see what's happened over the 20th century. A lot of astrologers make forecasts without going back and validating against the data whether their ideas are working. So we need a more evidence-based approach to astrology where we actually track our performance and our ideas and see how well they're working. This kind of evidence is not the hard kind of evidence that we have in our more controlled studies, but whenever you do anything in astrology, you should test your model to see if it works. And if we look back at the minor aspects between Neptune and Pluto over the past, say, 117 years, say since about 1900 or so, we'll see that Neptune and Pluto moved in and out of 7th and 13th harmonic 3 times. So there were 3 times in history when Neptune and Pluto moved into this 7th of a circle, and then it goes into 13. So it vacillates between 13 and 7 3 times, and this is when major wars occurred. World War I and World War II. The 2 world wars occur as Neptune and Pluto jumps between 7th and 13th harmonic, and the war on terror in 2001 also began during these kinds of time periods. I'll explain this in more detail in the next few slides, but basically what I'm saying is that you can track the political and social changes as Neptune and Pluto change their aspects. Here's a little point to be aware of, that when you double a number, like harmonics 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16 have a similar meaning. They are hard aspects. Harmonics 3 and 6 are soft aspects. And harmonics 7 and 14 are similar in meaning, and they're introverted, quiet, disciplined, interested in traditional and ancient ways. So this is what happens. It's very, very simple. When Neptune and Pluto are in these 7ths or 14ths, introversion, quiet, discipline, and interest in traditional and ancient ways comes to the forefront. It becomes highlighted. It becomes a huge motivation. And countries become skeptical of the United States. Very simple rule. When Neptune and Pluto are in 7th or 14th harmonic, there's huge skepticism about American leadership, and it's viewed as imperialism. And all this innovation and change looks wild, frenzied, out of control, immoral, indecent, and people want to be quieter, more meditative, and go back to the ancient ways. What the United States has consistently done when Neptune and Pluto are in these harmonics is the United States continues to be dominating leadership, to interfere with the affairs of more traditional countries. They rebel, and it creates a tendency towards terrorism, fascism, or Nazism, some kind of rebellion against this. So when Neptune and Pluto are in 7th harmonic, the United States should sit on the sidelines more, should do some more of our own meditation and quiet reflection. And then when Neptune and Pluto go into 13th harmonic, the United States comes to the forefront. That's the pattern. And if you follow the energy flow, you'll be much more successful. The problem with the United States and other Western leaders who follow the lead of the United States and join with us here in the U.S. is that we constantly push 13th harmonic agendas even when it's not appropriate. And when Neptune and Pluto are in 7th harmonic, it fails. So here are the time periods I'll show on the next slide. Well, this is what I just said. Let me go over this again. 7th harmonic, the Middle East resists American leadership. So whenever Neptune and Pluto are in 7th harmonic, there's a resistance to American leadership. If Americans keep pushing their agenda and being interventionist, this creates a retaliation, a reaction to it, leading to extreme repulsion against the United States, and we have terrorist, Nazi, fascist. The terms change in different historical periods, the style changes in different historical periods, but the concept is basically the same. When the Neptune and Pluto go into 13th harmonic, the USA and also Israel comes to the forefront, tends to be a winner. Innovation, science, flourish, invention, discovery, but also on the negative side, there tends to be an abuse of natural resources. Indigenous people are increasingly abused. Government becomes smaller. Technological advances are astounding. Science, innovation, bravery, and a move away from political correctness are strong. All the things that we're seeing right now with the election of Donald Trump, I predicted it. Why? Because Neptune and Pluto are in 13th harmonic. And the more that the people who are competing against this, the more the Democrats fail to embrace these qualities, the more the two parties become polarized. So this polarization and this fighting and the bitterness between the Republicans and Democrats is because the Republicans do not understand the truth of what the Democrats are saying, and the Democrats do not appreciate the truth of what the Republicans are saying, and both sides go to extreme. So we are seeing negative effects of the 13th harmonic. We are seeing abuse of natural resources. The Republicans have to admit this. We are seeing abuse of indigenous people. So this is what happens when 13th harmonic gets out of control, because 13 wants to lead, it wants to be forceful, it wants to overcome mediocrity, it wants to be strong and vibrant. It doesn't want a lot of wishy-washy political correctness. It doesn't want long meetings and more discussions and more analysis. It wants to just get going and invent and create and be brave. So areas like the humanities, where people debate and things are less clear, fuzzier. 13th harmonic doesn't like this. It wants to face things directly, squarely, and push forward in dynamic and clear ways. So the problems of these more humanities-oriented ways getting pushed to the side by the 13th harmonic force. That's the reality. There's nothing you can do to stop these planetary cycles. What we need to do is get in tune with them and do them the best way. So the 13th harmonic does not have to be abusive, does not have to lead to all these kinds of problems and abuse natural resources and so on. And actually, I'll give some rules as to how to prevent that from happening. One rule is to embrace what's great and special in every culture, and not to be indulgent. 13th harmonic doesn't like indulgence, not to just say whatever some culture is doing is fine, but to find what is really good and special and promote that, rather than just your particular brand of special activity. So what you find out what is special in Italy, what is special in France, what is special in African culture, what is special and wonderful in Chinese culture, and promote those things that are really good, really exciting, really innovative, and really make a change. Okay, so let me go over some of the history of this. World War I started when Neptune and Pluto were in a 7th or 14th harmonic. It happened 3 times. 1912 to 1913, right before World War I. World War I was 1914 to 1918. Second time it happened was 1937 to 1940, right at the beginning of World War II. Is this amazing or what? The 2 world wars occur at the 2 times that Neptune and Pluto are in a 7 vibration. It's not a coincidence. It's just phenomenal. 7th harmonic doesn't have to bring war. It brings reactionary feelings against the sense of an imperialism or such a high priority on innovation and newness. People want to remember the old ways, be quieter, be more introverted, and they rebel against it. There's ways to prevent these things from happening, but both of these wars were involved with that. In World War II, when in Berlin and other places, people were getting wild and frenzied, and the different kinds of public places, the bars and so on, the reaction against that was intense. And if people aren't listening and don't channel these things well, you get this polarization where people go to extremes. And the war on terror occurred when Neptune and Pluto went into a very long period, 12 years. Notice these periods were only 2 years, 4 years. They weren't very long, but a very long period, 2001 to 2012. Neptune and Pluto were in 7th harmonic, and it led to a prolonged, chronic problem of the United States at war in military options against the Middle East, and a growing terrorist activity that still hasn't stopped, because we fueled this so intensely during these 12 years by trying to impose American-style values when it was the wrong time to do it. It's just phenomenal. You can see exactly what will work and what won't work. So to look at some chart wheels, here's the September 11, 2001 attack. Here's Pluto and Neptune, and this purple line shows that Neptune and Pluto were in this 7 vibration, or what we sometimes call septiles. And notice that Sun, Mars, and Uranus are also in septiles. The dashed line are the 14th harmonic, and using 14th harmonic, Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Uranus, all in 7th harmonic, explosive combinations, and we see terrorist attacks when Mars and Uranus are in aspect with other planets. You'll see terrorist attacks. Very, very common, because what happens is these reactionary groups that want to go to a quieter, more traditional lifestyle begin to see the United States as demonic and as imperialistic. And when these planets get into an explosive 7th harmonic combination, they explode. So it's very, very predictable. So if you use vibrational astrology, you can see these things unfold. It's very amazing, and you can also see what needs to be done to prevent it from becoming negative. One of the problems right now is that people are not understanding each other. They're literally on different wavelengths. They don't appreciate what the dynamic is, what the motivation is, and they come up with just simplistic answers without understanding what's fueling these things. Okay, here's World War II begins. Again, Neptune and Pluto in the 7th. Here it's in the septile. and there are also other septile things going on at the same time. And the third thing is World War I begins when Neptune and Pluto have this dashed line, means they're in the 14th, combined with Mars. Usually you'll see Mars involved, and very often Uranus as well during these explosive times. Okay. So as I said before, what happened during these three time periods is Neptune and Pluto happened to move in and out of 7th and 13th harmonic. And during the 7th harmonic, you get the reaction to the United States, the wars begin, and then when they move into 13th harmonic, the United States becomes the world leader. The United States image is the eagle. We started with the 13 colonies, independence and innovation. The United States has a strong attunement to 13. When Neptune and Pluto move into 13, the United States comes to the forefront. Innovation, technology, science lead the way. Social programs get weaker. The idea of 13 is you should be strong, you should be tough, just get up. You don't need a lot of welfare to help you. This is the truth of the 13th. The 9th harmonic, in contrast, is about the fact that it takes a village to raise a family, that we're all connected, healing, and we are all connected together. So each harmonic brings a different awareness and attunement, and unfortunately what's happening is people are so attuned to one of these messages, it blots out the truth of the other messages, and people become polarized against each other. So also when 13th harmonic is strong, government is smaller, racism unfortunately tends to strengthen. So this is exactly what's happening. It's what I predicted. And if you follow how the planetary patterns are changing over time in these vibrational patterns, you can see this happening. So here's how Neptune and Pluto vacillated between 7th and 13th harmonic. Neptune and Pluto went into 13th harmonic in 1914 and 15, right after they were in 7th harmonic. The war is ended and the spirit of freedom continues. World War II is amazing. You have the 7th harmonic, 1937 to 1940. In 1942, Neptune and Pluto move into 13th harmonic. The United States comes into the war in 1941. The Nazis are defeated, and we have the rise of greater freedom and victory and all of the joy and celebrations of the victory of World War II as Neptune and Pluto went from 7th to 13th harmonic. It's amazing. And what I'm saying is if Neptune and Pluto did not go into 13th harmonic, World War II would have gotten prolonged, just like the war on terror. So you can predict what will happen, and sometimes it's not obvious at the time. When the war on terror began in 2001, I don't know, I didn't see other people talking about it, but I said it's going to last to 2015. And actually it's lasting even longer because we did completely the wrong things to handle the situation. It's aggravated and it's going to take, I don't know how long, decades. It's going to just take generations to heal the mistakes of the way that energy was handled from 2001 to 2012. So in the 1990s, from more exactly from 1988 to 1998, Neptune and Pluto were in 13th harmonic. That's when the internet began. That's when there was a collapse of communism in a lot of places. That's when smaller government and skepticism of government increased. So you get the same themes in the 90s that we'll see again in the coming years as Neptune and Pluto have moved again into 13th harmonic. So the Neptune and Pluto are in 13th harmonic from 2015, I've got a typo here, to 2024. So for about, actually 10 years, but especially around 2017 to around 2013, they're very clearly in a strong 13th harmonic, and we're going to see innovation, technology, breakthroughs. If you think the innovations of the past were a big deal with the internet and cell phones, it gets even more speeded up in the coming years. Now, in addition to the tone set by Neptune and Pluto, you can look at what's happening with Neptune and Pluto and other planets in groups, because not everybody will follow the tone of what's in the sky at the time. For example, the Democratic Party is the party of the ninth harmonic. I have several YouTube videos about this, and it's amazingly consistent that Bill Clinton, John F. Kennedy, Barack Obama, everybody, Joe Biden, etc., have these very, very strong ninth harmonic aspects, the same planets in the same relationship, even aspecting each other's charts. It's just amazing. And the ninth harmonic is the harmonic of community, of helping each other. And so the Democratic Party has a very sincere and real contribution to make of people working together, supporting one another. I've talked about some of the negative tendencies of the 13th harmonic, really evil things like racism, for example, abuse of the environment. Ninth harmonic has a problem of indulgence, of going with the flow. All those long meetings and never deciding anything, indulging different cultural habits that are not healthy. So the tendency to be politically correct. This is exactly what the 13th harmonic is complaining about. So as I watched the campaign for president between the Democrats and Republicans, I saw the Democrats make mistake after mistake after mistake, and I thought, oh my gosh, they might lose this election. And sure enough, they did. Okay, so I talked about this. I just explained this. Now, Donald Trump's theme was "Make America Great Again." This is really mind-blowing. I said that at the end of World War II, Neptune and Pluto were in 13th harmonic, 1942 to 1946. Donald Trump was born at the end of this time period, I think it was around 1946, with Neptune and Pluto in 13th harmonic. Neptune and Pluto have just moved into 13th harmonic again, and when he says "Make America Great Again," what this really means astrologically is Neptune and Pluto are back in 13th harmonic. It's time to kick butt, to make innovation, to make government smaller, to stop being indulgent, to stop being politically correct, and this is what's happening. Now, a lot of people listening to this are probably horrified because they're viewing what Donald Trump is doing in extremely negative terms, and that's what happens when you don't channel energy well. Donald Trump is going to extremes with some negative consequences, and this is the polarization that happens. If the Democrats would have been more innovative, less wishy-washy, we wouldn't have this polarization, and this would not be happening. I'll give an example of the wishy-washiness of the Democratic Party. I think I've got this on a future slide. Well, in case I don't, I'll mention it now, which is that, let me go back to the slide, which is at the end of the campaign, right in the last few days of Hillary Clinton's campaign, she had a lot of celebrities like Jay-Z and Beyonce, all these different people. I'm trying to remember the other guy's name. Well, some of these people have very violent, misogynistic words in their lyrics. The kind of rhythms and styles of the music can be violent. And she's promoting this. This is the thing that drives the Republicans crazy, is just because somebody's in a minority group doesn't mean everything they're doing is beautiful. You know, I happen to be a huge fan of a lot of African culture and African American culture, but it's not Jay-Z, I'll tell you that. So, you know, if you like Jay-Z, fine. But fine for you. I just don't happen to like some of the lyrics and things that are involved there. And that's what hurt the Democrats severely, is that people do not approve of this. They don't want their children to be following those kind of lyrics and so on. And what happens is people make excuses. The Democrats may say, oh, well, it's not that bad. But if the Republicans said things like that, they would become very hostile. So what I'm saying is you can't just be indulgent and say this is okay. It's not okay. Pick something that's really innovative and beautiful and exceptionally good. That's what 13th harmonic is. It wants to be special and not compromised. And what I'm saying, in case this isn't clear, is that when Hillary Clinton had those celebrities in the audience and on her stage, and they're all hugging and everything. It was a compromise. I don't think she really loves that music as her most special kind of music. I think she was trying to appeal to younger people, or maybe even older people. It doesn't have that exceptional striving to go beyond mediocrity that the 13th harmonic is seeking. And by the way, this isn't part of what's going on right now, but just as an aside, when Neptune and Pluto are an 11th harmonic, things get wild. People get into emancipation, breaking down borders. They get wild and frenzied, and that's what caused the 60s. From 1963 to 1971, Neptune and Pluto were 11th harmonic. So all that stuff about the 60s was drugs, sex, rock and roll, and rebellion, and burning bras, and everything else. That was Neptune and Pluto in the 11th harmonic. That's what it does. It's scary, it's wild, it's out of control, it's disruptive, it seeks freedom. And that also happened for a short time period, 1918 to 1920, when women got the right to vote. It initiated the Roaring Twenties, and it will happen again 2034 to 2037. And there will be people not standing for all of the repressions and inhibitions that go on, and declaring their freedom and emancipation. I think you're going to see this worldwide in that time period. So just to let you know that that's not a big issue right now, but for some of you who may be nostalgic for the 60s or something, that's what happened. And that's why the 60s suddenly died out in the early 70s. It just kind of faded away. The impact of the 60s, the drug use and stuff, lingered on even to today. The music lingered on, but the real energy for it died out pretty quickly as soon as they moved out of orb. Very, very amazing how this is very predictable. Here's some information about Jupiter and Neptune in the 11th harmonic of American presidents. I won't get into that. That's in other videos. One or two more things and I'm done with this video. You can look at synastry. We'll also make predictions. This is a bi-wheel of Adolf Hitler's 7th harmonic chart and the 7th harmonic of the transits on the date that's sometimes given for the beginning of World War I, September 1st, 1939. A war doesn't begin, I don't think, on one particular day, but that day is often cited as the beginning of World War I. It's certainly a big initiation point of the war. And the transits in the 7th harmonic are unbelievable. Remember, it's 7 harmonic. That's the force behind Nazism and also modern-day terrorism. And this is amazing. Transiting Uranus, again, the outer ring is the transits. Transiting Uranus on Hitler's ascendant, square is Pluto. Transiting Pluto on Hitler's moon, and opposite is Uranus. You have Uranus-Pluto both ways. Transiting Uranus to natal Pluto, transiting Pluto natal Uranus. How's that for an explosion? Transiting Saturn on his sun, and Neptune square his sun. I could go into a whole video just on this alone, and how it describes the details of what's going on with Hitler and how it was triggered at the time the war began. So I just wanted to mention that. So what to do about the coming year as we are in this polarized situation in the United States and much of the world between the right and left, and people getting upset with each other, and the difficulty of having an open heart and goodwill during all this tension. So the thing to do is to realize we need to get on board with this innovation, but not in a selfish, arrogant, or destructive way. That's the bottom line. Here's some specific predictions. In May, there will be some major reforms. In the latter half of 2017, there's going to be the massive technological breakthroughs, also in May and June. Whatever administration is in power in any country will take credit for this. In late summer and autumn, the economic dislocations from changes in policies will be highlighted, and chronic problems like human trafficking, chronic poverty, are going to come to highlight. There's going to be some strong debates about this, very intense arguments in autumn and winter about these issues. So what do you need to do? Get into the information age. If you don't have a website, or your website's out of date, or you're just very old-fashioned, you're becoming like a throwback to some earlier style. It's like 1950s diners or 1960s doo-wop. If you want to be part of what's going on in the modern age, it's time to get moving. Also notice that in astrology, when Neptune and Pluto were in 7th harmonic with the ancient old ways from 2001 to 2012, that's when the interest in Hellenistic astrology, classical astrology, boomed. Now Neptune and Pluto have moved into 13th harmonic. Innovation, science, really figuring things out, not being wishy-washy is the momentum. And we have things like all of my videos, which are now booming, and it's a synergy created by the new technology, YouTube. The information is out there. The excitement is happening. So this is where the momentum is. And you can decide how you want to deal with it, but it's not going to change. It's going to increase right through 2024. And if you don't hop on this wagon now of innovation, breakthroughs, and honesty, and not fiddling around and being wishy-washy, the feeling of the Republicans is that the Democrats just have one meeting after another, and they just talk and talk. They're tired of it, and this is the momentum of now. If the Democrats would have embraced this style while keeping the beauty and very important message of the 9th harmonic, they'd be in a much stronger place now. So unfortunately, the benefits of the Democratic Party are getting pushed to the side because they didn't respond in the best way to the changing times. So embrace science. If you still think science is a threat to astrology, get over it. Realize that some of the greatest scientists were mystics. And if you're not good at science, you can still love it, embrace it, support it, and utilize it. You may not be able to play music or paint, but you still love music and paintings. So this is the age we're in. This is what's going on. It's a fast-paced age. Things are getting revved up. It's time for the free-spirited, confident people to move forward. Don't let your childhood problems or your lack of being perfect slow you down. None of us are perfect. You can continue to work on yourself and fix yourself, but this is a time to get up and go. Today and tomorrow are what counts. This is the vibration. I have no doubt about it. It's what's happening now, and it's going to continue. This is the mood we're in, and this explains the political changes and explains the environment we're in. So another piece of advice: use the inventions. We're going to be seeing the solar roof shingles, other solar and wind power, improved computing platforms. Technology revolution is very rapid from now through 2024, and it's also happening in astrology. Revolutions, transformation. Astrology, although it's supposed to be ruled by Uranus, often is very traditional and keeps up these ancient traditions. And with 13th harmonic, it breaks things up to see what really works by looking at things plainly, directly, and with bravery to move forward. It's not timid. And also, I mentioned this before, is praise, elevate, sponsor, and praise whatever is unique and special in any culture, in any environment. That's the mistake the Republicans have been making over and over again, and Americans always make. They think, or we think, since I'm an American, that we're better, we're the leaders. Every culture has something special, beautiful, and more beautiful than other cultures. Find out what it is. And here's what I mentioned. And in terms of minority groups, personally, I don't think it's Jay-Z. It is the best example for bringing in young culture and alternatives. You may love Jay-Z, but what I'm saying is some of those lyrics, some of those words, some of the hostility of those rhythms is not where it's at. It's not what people want. I listen to music from Africa. I forget what they call the instrument now. I can't think of the name of it. It's incredible. And I don't do it because I'm trying to prove anything. I just love the music. just like I love music from India. So you find what's exciting, beautiful, and elevating, and support it. That's the key, because the negative tendency of the 13th harmonic is to put the United States and United States culture above everybody else, and to be abusive to other cultures, which extinguishes the light and beauty that they have to offer. While I was watching Stevie Wonder performing for Hillary Clinton, I was thinking about all the votes Hillary was losing while that was happening. You may disagree with me. I may be saying something that's politically incorrect or frightening or whatever, but I'm expressing the 13th harmonic is what is really elevating, classy, special, so wonderful that it's to die for. That's what the 13th harmonic wants, to overcome mediocrity and do special things. So be brave. Take an adventure. You know, when you're young, you're forced into adventure. Some people, as they get older, fall into a nice, safe, stable life. But what do we remember? We remember our adventures. We remember when we were innocent and the freshness and the awakening to new life. So 13th harmonic, time to take risks, to take adventures. Learn how to make that website. It's not difficult. You can drive a car. You can use these tools that are easier than driving your car. Don't be afraid to step forward. That's what the 13th harmonic is about. Explore and open up to new things, and be aware that, you know, none of us are experts in everything, but we have the bravery to pursue it. So this is the lesson of the times. This is why there's been some radical changes in a lot of governments, including in the United States. And if we had channeled these energies better, we'd be in a much better place today. That's how we can fix things. We're not going to fix them just by polarizing against each other and yelling at each other. We need to embrace the power and potential of these changing energies. That's what we need to do. So all these misunderstandings and bad feelings and conflict will be resolved by putting into action the new momentums and changes of what is happening. Okay. All right. So I've covered all this. So thank you very much. Here are some websites that I'm involved in. If you like my videos, or you become a follower of my videos, that's a great support. It helps raise awareness of this and brings more people to utilize our paid services as well as our free services, and gives us the resources to keep making these videos. So here's some websites. astrosoftware.com is our main site for astrology software. We also have astrologysoftware.com for more software. We have a school of astrology. We have an online automated computer interpretations. We have more services at astrologyland.com. Thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it very much. God bless. Namaste.